General Hospital spoilers for the next 3 weeks, August 18th to September 5th, include a Drew Kane Whodunit countdown, as well as some hints about Ryan Paevey's planned new narrative. There will also be some mystery boss mayhem, so let's talk about what to expect. The week of August 18th to 22nd will bring Emma Scorpio Drake closer to Giovanni Gio Palmieri, so expect her to open up to him. Britt Westbourne may put an end to Jason Morgan's attempts to get her out of the Five Poppies resort. Britt's medicine doses are clearly dependent on her sticking around and achieving the expected lab results. Jocelyn Jacks will also do some scheming with Vaughn now that she's saved his life. Despite the fact that Jocelyn is coping with some major trauma, she will put it all on weight and try to get the truth out of Britt. Of course, there will be some challenges along the way. Jocelyn will be taken by surprise when she discovers Jason is on the property. Pascal will still want to neutralize Jocelyn and Vaughn's threat, so there will be plenty of drama for them to handle. After Anna Devane forms a cautious partnership with ADA Justine Turner, she will reveal a fresh notion. It could prove critical in Drew's upcoming setback, since he is about to experience one. Alexis Davis may come in to aid with Stella Henry's legal crisis. Curtis Ashford appears to be reaching out to Alexis for assistance before turning his attention to Drew, who will be seeking vengeance. Over with Ava Jerome, she'll acquire some interesting information. Will Ava discover that Rick Lansing recruited Martin Gray and is working behind her back to terminate their partnership? Ava has also been scheming behind Rick's back, but she will not be pleased if she discovers he is doing the same. It is also possible that Ava will learn about Cody and Christina Corinthos Davis' relationship. Ava may not know all about the seduction strategy, but she can see Cody and Christina having an intense talk and wonder what's going on. Cody, on the other hand, will want to admit something, possibly to Molly Lansing Davis, because he dislikes the tension between them. Cody may believe that honesty is the best policy when it comes to what has been going on with Ava, but Christina may disagree. Lucas Jones will battle for Maxie Jones' life at GH. Maxie's medical struggle looks to be the result of poisoned face cream, paving the way for Kirsten Storm's brief departure from the show. Maxie could become comatose or possibly disappear from the hospital at some point. It appears that Jen Sidwell is solely responsible for this, therefore further hints regarding his guilt may emerge soon. Despite Drew's threats and meltdowns, Michael Corinthos and Sonny Corinthos will win, most likely with Anna and ADA Turner's support. Things may appear to be going well for Sonny and Michael, but more drama could be on the way. During the week of August 25th to 29th, Sidwell could simply follow Marco Rios' instructions and use his Sonny leverage. Will Sidwell explain the judge bribery problem and make it obvious that if Sonny does not cooperate, he will appear to be the culprit? Sonny may become enraged if Sidwell forces him into a corner and jeopardizes Michael's custody of the children. Naturally, Sidwell will not want to push Sonny too far. In contrast, Drew is becoming a problem that Sidwell may need to address. We should also discuss an upcoming huge surprise. How long will it take the ABC soap to reveal the unknown boss who forces Britt to do perilous work? This mystery individual may receive details about Jason's visit to the Five Poppies resort and become enraged, putting Jason's life in danger. Could the mystery man be Peter August, who has miraculously survived, or someone else? Regardless, with Ryan Paevey's on-air comeback guaranteed for September, fans are eager to learn more about his upcoming arc. There may be some excitement surrounding Paevey's return during the week of September 1st to 5th, but fans will have to wait a bit longer to see him on screen. The program has not stated if Paevey is playing Nathan or someone else, but the timing is intriguing given Britt's return from the dead. Will the genuine Nathan return? Or will this result in clone chaos? Whatever the case, some shocking details about Professor Henry Hank Dalton's research will be revealed in the near future. Drew may be working on a whodunit, as his list of foes grows by the day. Will one of Drew's rivals attempt to wipe him off the map, leaving viewers with yet another mystery to solve? According to General Hospital spoilers, the following 3 weeks will be filled with surprise news and drama, so stay tuned for all of the shocking disclosures. Drew's thoughts drifted to the last several weeks. Rumors circulated in Port Charles about a mysterious individual pulling strings behind the scenes. Businesses were failing overnight, and influential persons disappeared or died under unexplained ways. The local news referred to it as a crime wave, but Drew noticed something more sinister, a pattern. Someone was causing havoc, and the term mystery boss had spread. A nickname with weight in the underworld. Drew had suspicions but no proof. Was it someone from his past? A ghost from his SEAL days or a newcomer in town? The note suggested responses, and Drew was not one to back down from a challenge. The Five Poppies Resort loomed across the sea, its lavish exterior concealing a maze of mysteries. Drew had heard rumors about the area being private, clandestine, and a playground for the wealthy and powerful. It was also rumored to be a ruse for more sinister activities, such as unlawful experiments or money laundering. He tried to get in weeks earlier, posing as a possible investor, but the security was strong. No one went in without an invitation, and Drew's charm, while impressive, hadn't been enough to get past the gatekeepers. He did, however, have a lead tonight, and he was not about to go without an answer. A figure emerged from the fog, strolling purposefully along the pier. Drew tensed, his fingers hovering above his revolver. Drew was nervous because the person was tall, slim, and walked with a familiar gait. Drew caught his breath as the man stepped into the murky light of a street lamp. Nathaniel West. Or at least someone that resembled Nathan West. The man's face was partially concealed by a cowl, but his jawline and demeanor were unmistakable. Nathan, a former cop and Drew's acquaintance, had been murdered years before. Drew had attended the burial and witnessed the pain in Maxie Jones' eyes as she mourned her husband. So who was this? Drew, the man replied, his voice low and familiar, but tinged with something new. Caution, perhaps fear. You got my note. Drew kept his hand close to his rifle. Nathan? Is that you? The man pulled his hood down, revealing Drew's familiar face. But there was something different, scars on his temple, a hardness in his gaze that hadn't existed before. It's me. Sort of. Drew's tone was sharp. You've got 5 seconds to explain before I decide you're a ghost or a liar. Nathan, or whomever he was, raised his hands, palms out. I am not here to fight. I need your help. The mysterious employer has me in his pocket. Drew's mind raced for years. Is Nathan West alive? It did not add up. The shooting was public and nasty, a message to anybody who crossed Caesar Faison. Maxie was pregnant and left to raise their son alone. Yet here he was, standing on a rainy pier, discussing a mystery employer. Drew's senses warned him to avoid the trap, but his curiosity kept him there. Start talking, he instructed. Nathan's story came out in shards, each more improbable than the next. He had not died that day in 2018. Instead, he'd been kidnapped, patched up in secret, and forced into servitude by a shadowy figure known only as the mystery boss. This guy had complete authority over everything, including cops, politicians, and the media. Nathan had been kept alive to do the boss's dirty work, with his death staged to keep Maxie and their son safe. But suddenly something had changed. The boss was becoming irresponsible, attacking people close to home, including Drew. Nathan had put everything on the line to give Drew the message in the hopes that it would aid in the investigation of the plot. Why me? Drew inquired, his voice firm despite the barrage of questions in his mind. Because you're the only one crazy enough to take him on, Nathan told me. And because you have adversaries who want to kill you. The boss is aware of the situation. Drew's mind wandered to his expanding list of adversaries, business rivals, old military contacts, and even family members harboring grudges. The Quatermains, his own blood, had never fully accepted him, and his new political involvement had made him a target for Port Charles's elite. But is it a single mastermind pulling the strings? It was a lot to swallow. Still, Nathan's presence, alive, scarred, and desperate, proved that something was very wrong. What's the boss's plan? Drew asked. What does he want? Control, Nathan replied. Port Charles is just the beginning. He's got enormous plans. Experiments, technology, and power. The Five Poppies serves as his base. You want answers? Get inside. Drew looked at the resort, its lights teasing him through the rain. And you? Why come out of hiding now? Nathan's jaw stiffened. Because I am weary of being a puppet. Maxie deserves to know the truth. But if I approach her now, the boss will kill her. Drew, you're my only shot. Nathan's words weighed heavily on Drew like rain. He had always been a guy of action, but this was different. This was a web of deceit, with a faceless adversary at its heart. He thought about Maxie, the anguish she'd been through, and the community he'd pledged to safeguard. If Nathan was speaking the truth, the unknown boss posed a threat unlike any Drew had encountered. If Drew was lying, he was falling into a trap. In either case, he couldn't walk away. "All right," Drew answered, his voice cutting through the storm. "But if you're playing me, Nathan, I'll bury you myself." Nathan nodded, a ghostly smile on his lips. Fair enough. The strategy was straightforward but hazardous. Nathan had a contact inside the 5 poppies who could let Drew in, but only for a short time. Midnight the next night, during a banquet for Port Charles's aristocracy, the resort would be packed with security stretched thin. Drew would pose as a guest, infiltrate the restricted areas, and discover evidence of the mystery boss's activities. Nathan couldn't go since he was too recognizable, even with his scars. Drew would be on his own, with Nathan providing him information from outside. Drew started preparing the next day. He phoned in favors, obtaining a customized suit and a falsified invitation to the event. He asked Jocelyn Jax, a buddy with a penchant for plotting, to assist him traverse the resort's layout. Jocelyn, always up for a challenge, provided a rough map of the 5 poppies based on rumors and personal relationships. "Be careful, Drew," she said, her gaze serious. "That place eats people alive." By midnight, Drew had arrived at the resort and blended in with the mob of tuxedoed men and sparkling women. The banquet was a sight, with chandeliers shedding golden light, champagne flowing like water, and the murmur of power deals happening around every corner. Drew's falsified invitation let him in, but the true issue was the restricted wing, which was guarded by guys who appeared to be mercenaries rather than valets. He sipped his drink and looked about when he noticed a familiar face, Britt Westbourne. Britt, like Nathan, was supposed to have died. Yet there she was, vibrant and gorgeous, with her dark hair pulled up in an immaculate bun. Drew's pulse quickened. If Britt was here, connected to the mystery boss, Nathan's story began to sound plausible. He approached her warily, his charm amplified to conceal his mistrust. "Britt," he said with a smile, "didn't expect to see you here." Her eyes were filled with something. Fear, perhaps, or recognition. "Drew," she replied, her voice silky and reserved. "It's been a while." They exchanged niceties, each looking for details. Britt was evasive, avoiding queries about her absence and attendance at the resort. Drew observed her looking across the room at a big man in a tailored suit who exuded authority. The mysterious boss? Drew wasn't sure, but the man's presence gave him a chill. He was surrounded by guards, his face concealed by the crowd, but his posture exuded strength. Before Drew could urge Britt more, an alarm rang. The crowd froze and then raced toward the exits as security surrounded the room. Drew snuck into the turmoil, taking advantage of the confusion to make his way to the restricted wing. Nathan had provided detailed information. A lab hidden behind a false wall where the unknown boss conducted experiments. Drew discovered the wall, activated the concealed panel, and entered a sterile corridor illuminated by harsh fluorescent lights. The laboratory was a nightmare. Vials of bright liquid lined the shelves, computers hummed with data, and a blackboard covered with calculations hinted to something far more than ordinary crime. Cloning, genetic modification, and mind control. Drew's military background provided just enough context to understand how deadly this was. He took pictures with his phone, his heart racing as he heard footsteps coming. He ducked behind a server rack, just as the door opened. The man from the gala entered, his face clearly apparent. Drew didn't recognize him, but his presence was commanding, and his voice clipped as he spoke to someone by headset. "Kane's here," the man said. "Find him." Drew's blood turned chilly. They knew he was present. The unknown boss was not just one step ahead. He was playing chess while Drew was playing checkers. He waited until the man left before slipping out of the lab, his mind racing. Nathan had set him up, or he had been betrayed. Drew was in deeper than he had anticipated. Nathan waited at the pier with a pallid face. "Have you found it?" he asked. Drew grabbed him by the collar and pushed him into a pile. "They knew I was coming." "You sold me out," Nathan said, his eyes widening. "No, I swear. Someone must have tipped them off. Britt, perhaps. She has been working for him." Drew released him, his head racing. Britt, Nathan, the mysterious boss. It was a web of deception, and he was trapped in the middle. Who is he? Drew commanded. Give me a name. I don't know, Nathan answered, his voice breaking. Nobody does. He is a ghost. But he has eyes everywhere. You need to get to Maxie and warn her. Drew's instincts told him to flee, to protect those he cared about. But he couldn't escape the suspicion that Nathan wasn't telling him the whole truth. Still, Maxie was innocent in this case, and Drew owed her that. He left Nathan on the pier and proceeded to Maxie's apartment, the rain still falling and the town's secrets pushing in from all sides. Maxie's apartment was unusually silent. The door was ajar, and only one lamp cast shadows across the living area. Drew stepped inside, gun drawn, and discovered her seated on the couch, her face pallid. Drew, she said softly, her voice shaking. He was here. Who? Drew inquired, though he already knew. The man in the shadows, she remarked. He said you're next. Drew gripped his revolver tighter. The mysterious boss was close in, but the game was far from ended. He helped Maxie pack a bag and promised to keep her safe, but his thoughts were already on the next step. The lab, the experiments, Nathan's return, they were all linked, and Drew was the only one who could figure it out. Port Charles was a powder keg, and the mystery boss was holding the match. Drew met with Jocelyn again the next morning, filling her in on what had happened the night before. She listened intently, her eyes narrowing as he described the laboratory and the man in the suit. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, she told me. But if Nathan's alive and Britt's back, maybe this guy's playing God. Drew replied with a shrug. I need to get back to the resort. There's more to find, and I'm not going to let this guy get away. Jocelyn hesitated before handing him a burner phone. Use it. I have a contact who can hack the resort's security feeds. Drew accepted the phone, appreciative for her loyalty. He spent the day researching the resort's past, uncovering rumors about a man named Henry Dalton, a professor with connections to experimental research. Dalton had vanished years ago, yet his name kept coming up in relation to the 5 poppies. Was he the mysterious boss or simply another pawn? Drew did not have time to speculate. He had a job to complete. That night, he returned to the resort, this time using a service door that Jocelyn's contact had indicated. The burner phone buzzed with updates, security was on high alert, but the breach had disabled critical cameras. Drew rushed quickly back into the lab. This time he discovered a file labeled Project Phoenix, which described research on human resurrection, cloning, and memory manipulation. The names were obscured, but one jumped out, Nathan West. Drew's heart fell. Nathan wasn't simply alive. He could have been someone else entirely. A clone, a double, the result of the mysterious boss's perverted research. The consequences were astounding. If the boss could resurrect the dead or make copies, no one in Port Charles was safe. Drew pocketed the file, knowing it held the key to unraveling the scheme. As he turned to go, the lights flickered, and the man from the gala entered the room. Kane, he murmured, his tone icy. You're persistent. Drew raised his rifle, but the man was faster, disarming him with a military-style maneuver. Who are you? Drew demanded, backing up toward the door. The man smirked with a predatory grin. You'll know soon enough. But for the time being, you're a problem. Before Drew could respond, a dart struck his neck, and the world went black. He awoke hours later in an alley, his head pounding and the file missing. Nathan was nowhere to be located, and Maxie did not answer her phone. Drew was running out of time when the mysterious boss made his move. He lurched to his feet as the rain continued to fall, vowing to put an end to this. The mysterious boss believed he had won, but Drew Kane was no one's pawn. He would find Nathan, save Maxie, and reveal the truth, no matter the cost. Port Charles was his home, and he'd fight to keep it safe, even if it meant battling the devil himself. The days after were a whirl of leads and dead ends. Drew hunted out every clue, from dubious informants to hacked records, to piece together the mystery boss's business. He discovered a network of operatives, each motivated by fear or greed, and a plot to take control of Port Charles's economy. The 5 poppies were only the tip of the iceberg, a front for a global operation. Drew's foes drew in from corporate rivals to hired killers, but he continued moving, motivated by a desire to protect Maxie and learn the truth about Nathan. Britt became a reluctant ally, her allegiance to the unknown boss weakening as she understood the extent of his depravity. She supplied Drew information, warning him of traps and directing him to a hidden safe house where the boss kept his most vital documents. Drew broke in, just avoiding a bomb tied to the door, and discovered a dossier that verified his darkest fears. The mystery boss was Henry Dalton, a man considered dead but very much alive, who used his scientific genius to manipulate life itself. The ultimate confrontation occurred at the Five Poppies, during a storm that shook the village to its foundation. Drew faced Dalton in the lab, surrounded by the instruments of his twisted trade. "You can't stop progress," Dalton declared, his eyes shining with fervor. "I'm building a new world." "You're building a graveyard," Drew countered, his gun pointed on the man. The fight was nasty, a battle of wills and fists. Dalton was no ordinary antagonist. His experiments had increased his power, speed, and cunning. But Drew was unwavering, driven by years of training and a desire to defend those he cared about. Finally, he overwhelmed Dalton, forcing him to expose Nathan's true identity, a clone created to manipulate Maxie and rule Port Charles's underworld. With Dalton in arrest, Drew contacted Maxie, who was safe but disturbed, and told her the truth about Nathan. The sorrow in her eyes was awful, but she was entitled to know. The unknown boss's empire collapsed, his operatives dispersed, and Port Charles began to recover. But Drew knew the scars would last. He had solved the whodunit, but at a cost. Nathan's reappearance, Brit's survival, and the experiment served as reminders that in Port Charles, the line between life and death was thin, and the shadows contained mysteries that may never be revealed. Drew stood alone as the rain stopped and the sun came up over the pier, the weight of his decisions settling in. He'd won this round, but the game wasn't really done. Not at Port Charles. Not for him.